Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois. This is going to be my review for episode 7 for this season, otherwise entitled Man of Steel. And look, let's just say it. Holy crap. Holy crap. What was that? That was so good. Such a good reveal. I don't think anyone had actually predicted it. If there was, fair enough, but I can't remember seeing anything like that online at all. Wow. Okay, spoiler alert, because we're going to be talking about the episode. So if you've not watched the episode, firstly, what are you doing? Second, go do it, then come back later on. If you are continuing on, let me know your various thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you see that reveal coming? If you weren't, which I'm sure is the high majority of y'all, am I from the southwest of, I don't know, anyway. Anyway, yeah, let me know your general thoughts on it. Did you see it coming? General reactions, general thoughts on this episode, theories going forward. Let me know. They mentioned the multiverse in this episode, which I think is the first time for this show. So yeah, let me know your general thoughts on there. And of course, if you enjoyed the episode, you enjoyed this video, just want to show your general support, I want to leave a like on it. It shows your support for everything. Let's talk about it. So last episode we had Lois and quote-unquote Luthor getting closer together in regards to their teamwork and going into the mines, some more ex-kryptonite stuff. We had Tag Harris come in, which led to some stuff with Jordan's powers developing and some issues going forward there. Potential hints at Jonathan's powers with his strength, which were also hinted slightly in this episode as well. And, there's just some interesting stuff going on overall, isn't there? But this episode, first off, was actually directed by David Ramsey, who of course is the Arrowverse's Diggle. He's set to appear later in this season as Diggle on Superman and Lois. I think they said it's 12. So keep your eyes out for that episode. He actually directed this episode. So if you liked how it looked and how it ran and everything like that, you can thank David Ramsey. But the episode actually starts off with Clark arriving with Jordan at the Fortress of Solitude. That's how we ended last episode. Jordan was in all this pain. His brain was fritzing out and stuff. Clark quickly took him and they flew, and that's where we ended. He flashed straight in like that slow motion little thing that we had at the beginning of this episode. And Jor-El advises Clark. We don't actually see Jor-El, we just hear him. But he advises Clark to teach Jordan how to focus on his hearing. However, it's not going to be a quick thing. It's not going to be a short journey. Clark, I think, says it took him a few weeks for him to recover and deal with it. So Jordan's potentially got a bit of a longer journey ahead of him. Now, Lois learns fairly early on in this episode that the Marcus Bridgewater that she went into the mines with last episode, well, not surprisingly, isn't actually Marcus Bridgewater, and also has Lana dive more into what's going on with Morgan Edge and setting things up there. And there's actually sort of like a bit of a response from Morgan Edge there as well in regards to Lana being a part of the company, which we'll talk about later on. Now, Morgan and Leslie Lar aren't too sure how to move ahead with this whole ex-kryptonite operation that they have with so many people lingering over them. Superman, Lois, everything like that. And they decide to actually ship out a small portion of it as bait to see who comes after it, which I think is actually a fairly smart idea. So if they know who exactly is going to be interfering with it and everything like that, if that person's busy, then they know that's the time to strike. Now, we do have Clark trying to train Jordan's hearing by having him focus on one sound, which isn't a success, but it's the road to Jordan eventually dealing with it. It sort of teaches Jordan at least what to do potentially on his own. But at that moment, it's too hard. Even Jordan on his own early on tries to focus on the ticking of a clock, which I actually thought was going to work, but unfortunately it didn't. But he's actually able to eventually focus in on Sarah's voice by looking at a photo of her, but it's at not the best time, you know what I mean? There's a couple of bad times to maybe focus in on what Sarah's saying, and this is one of them. And it's when she's actually in the middle of a conversation with Jonathan, which doesn't please Jordan so much because it sounds like they're getting a bit close, even though that's not really the case. It's just really Jonathan saying, "Hey, Sarah, you got a friend in me." That's pretty much what it was. But Jordan's a bit jealous. He confronts Jonathan later on in the episode, which is then later resolved. It's just sort of a bit of confrontation there, which the brothers do resolve. Now, Luthor, I got to say it like that because of the reveal in this episode, but Luthor meets with Lois in that diner while Clark actually looks through his camper van, and the little device in the camper van actually gives away to Clark that he is apparently Captain Luthor. Now, Luthor actually reveals to Lois how he sees the downfall of this Earth, similar to what happened to his, starting with what happened in Metropolis. And Luthor knows Luthor knows that Clark was in his van, so he knows, who's getting in his way and potentially various things like that. Now, Lois and Clark actually follow that shipment sent by Morgan Edge, so it's a smart move by Leslie Law, and it's not just Lois and Clark, because someone is on the other side, and that of course is Luthor. Now, Clark casually puts those guards on top of that rock. I was looking at that rock and I was like, is there a way down, or are they just gonna have to chill up there? I wasn't too sure, unless maybe he went back as Superman to help them out, but at that moment they were just sitting on top of that rock, and I don't know how they were getting down. But anyway. But Luthor bargains with Lois in exchange for the X-Kryptonite to actually meet Superman, which is exactly what he wants. I don't think he really cares about losing that X-Kryptonite, because Superman is the one he needs. Now, the flashbacks in this episode were great. These are, Luthor flashbacks, or at least this other Earth. We don't know the number of it. I don't know if we ever will. But this other Earth, the flashbacks from it. And we see the version of Lois Lane, who is married to, who we think is Luthor. They're living their best life, complete with a daughter. We see the daughter then. She's actually a bigger part in the episode than I thought she would be. I am curious whether she's in other episodes going forward. I would hope so. I have to wait and see. But we actually get to witness the first attack on Metropolis, and I was like, oh my god, we're getting it right now, because we'd seen in some trailers and stuff, and I was like, oh, here we go. And obviously it's by evil Superman and some other black-suited super people. Obviously people that were given X-Kryptonite. We didn't get to see who any of them are. I do wonder whether there's a reason we didn't see any of them right now. I wonder if that's actually revealed later, because I wonder if, Jonathan Jordan potentially, or other children of Superman, because Lois is with this other character on this Earth. So did Superman have a wife or anything like that? If it was his wife, like another X-Kryptonian affected person, and maybe this is their offspring, or there is other offspring that were evil. Very curious to see whether they dive into that, or they just didn't show the people's faces because they weren't necessarily important in regards to who they were. We just need to know that they're a part of this evil army. But we do get to see the death of Lois while she's actually reporting for the Daily Planet. Luthor had said don't do it and everything like that. So she's killed by not just one of the random black-suited Kryptonians or X-Kryptonite affected people, but she's actually killed specifically by the evil Superman, which just rubs it in. Now, I did love the montage of Luthor building like a makeshift weapon, or not a makeshift weapon, just finishing off his weapon, against Superman, alongside the montage of himself and his daughter making the initial exosuit from the early episodes. I really enjoyed that, and I just thought that was a nice thing, especially the whole hairband thing, which comes back into the end of the episode when he's actually in the cell. And that's like a reminder of his daughter. It's pretty much the only thing he has remaining from his daughter. And it makes you wonder, or think back to when the exosuit was sort of like destroyed, how important that was to him as well. But this is the big moment of the episode where I just thought, okay, we're getting the first meeting between these two, Luthor and Superman. I was like, okay, let's just see what happens here. Is it going to be a team building thing? Are they going to form a partnership, or is it going to be a fight? I had no idea what was going to go down. So we have these two meet, quote unquote Luthor and Superman, but he actually reveals to Superman that Superman is the threat. That, it's not this X-Kryptonite, you're the threat. But then we learn that he's not actually Luthor. He's not Luthor at all. He is John Henry Irons, aka, and they don't think they say, they say the word in the episode multiple times, but he doesn't refer to himself as it. This is Steel from the comics. He's like one of the other, when Superman dies, he's like one of these new Supermen that comes up to sort of replace him. So he's Steel from the comics. And then Man of Steel being the title of the episode makes even more sense. It's got like a double meaning, which I thought was awesome. So Luthor actually being Steel makes a lot of sense considering how good he is with the scraps. Now, they were leading into it and I thought, okay, this is interesting. But then when you get that reveal, like, oh my God, they did it perfectly. And he even has Steel's iconic kinetic hammer. They did it perfectly. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. But we also learned that the John Henry Irons from Earth Prime died 6 years ago, because we learn his identity because Lois gets his handprint off the X-Kryptonite case, takes it to the DOD, and they're actually able to get his fingerprints and everything. So I wonder if we'll find out what happened to that version, because unless they try and make it seem like he is just the one from Earth Prime, it'll be interesting to see how they do that, because then will all these people know about the multiverse? I don't know. Very curious. But luckily for Superman, because he's getting his ass beaten, he's getting his ass hammered into the ground pretty much by John Henry Irons and this kinetic hammer. But he's lucky because Jordan is actually able to hear his screams and what's going on with Superman and get to him before John Henry Irons can do anything. So John is incapacitated, he's knocked out. However, Superman gets to the edge though, like the glowing red eyes and stuff like that. Looks like he's going to beat down this like non-superpowered person and potentially kill him. So lucky that Lois was there. Now, Leslie Lahr takes advantage of Superman being busy and actually sends that ex-Kryptonite shipment off to where it's going. So she, her plan comes together perfectly throughout this episode. So everything fell into line for what she wanted to happen. But along with that, Morgan Edge is actually making a list of subjects, hopefully to make more Leslie Lahrs, because she's the only one that hasn't sort of like gone overboard and combusted and everything like that, similar to what we saw with Derek Powell in a previous episode. And one of them is actually Emily, who was Lana Lang's friend, who actually came in for a job and is hired by Morgan, despite the fact that Lana did not relay her name to anyone. Like, she just came and was like, okay, I'm just starting on it. But then all of a sudden she's hired and Lana had nothing to do with it, outside the fact that Emily came in to see Lana. That's about it. So let's see where that goes. But we end the episode off with Clark and Lois deciding to reveal everything to Jordan and Jonathan. The first question Jordan has is like, who was that dude with the hammer? Like, what was going on there? And we don't get any more. We might pick up next episode with them explaining more. But we see what appears, at least, to be John's last moments with his daughter as he heads off to take on the evil Superman on their Earth. And it makes you wonder what happens after that. Like, what happens specifically to his daughter? Is his Earth not destroyed or something like that? Because the big thing is that they said he was sort of displaced on our Earth. Like, this is before the show came out in interviews, that Crisis played a role in him being on our Earth. So I wonder if antimatter actually destroyed his Earth and maybe he thinks it's connected to the Superman stuff. I'm interested to see how they wrap that story up in regards to what happened to him previously and as he gets to our Earth, which I don't know if we're going to get next week or they might leave it for a few more episodes when necessary. I'm very curious to see how they wrap up those flashbacks and the lead-in story with this character, because I'm very, very invested. And I think that's just the whole reveal of it was really, really cool. But overall, this episode they knocked it out of the park in regards to it. They said going into it was very Luthor heavy, or quote unquote Luthor heavy, and was it? I mean, that's one of the better reveals in Arrowverse history, in my opinion. I don't know if it's the best. It's up there though. I'd say it's definitely top 5. And I loved it. I loved pretty much everything in this episode, and I can't wait to see where things set up in this episode and go, and just where the general story goes as well. Man, so good. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, let me know. Leave a like on the video. I'm lost for words because it was so good. Just leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the episode. Let me know your general thoughts, opinions, theories, everything like that in the comment section down below. And where you think's going. Let me know what you thought of that reveal. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.